Hi guys, welcome to English 235 Introduction to Poetry. I'm Jeremy Jackson. I'm going to be your instructor for this, what's going to be a whirlwind of a month. We have kind of quite a bit to fit in within this month. But I'm going to work with you. I know we're in this sort of modified mode of pedagogy, of how we deliver, information for your education, for your edification. I'm going to try to be as flexible as possible. On that note, please reach out to me, and we're going to see this within this slideshow. Reach out to me at any time by email. I'm always checking my email, especially. Going to be vigilant at doing so during this month. And reach out to me for any clarification, any concerns, literally anything. If you feel as if, for whatever reason, you can't meet a deadline, if you need more time, we're going to try to work with you with regards to that, with regards to everything. Another thing is the bookstore says our first collection of poetry, Black Aperture, isn't going to arrive, I think they said like May 5th. So reach out to me after you listen to this lecture if you haven't received Black Aperture. We're really not going to dig into it. We're going to look at the schedule here shortly. But we're really not going to dig into it, I think, it's going to be like midweek next week. So maybe that timeline will work out. And what we can do is, if it ends up happening in terms of being late, or if there's a couple individuals that didn't buy it off Amazon, say, and they need to get the one from the library, from the campus bookstore, then we're just got to sort of rejigger the timeline of when things are due. Okay. Yeah, so for whatever reason, the timeline I submitted that's within this syllabus that we're going to go over, this course outline, is wrong, the due dates. I wanted to give everybody a chance to read the book, each book, right? We're going to talk about sort of how this class is formatted, how it's sort of structured. You have the chance, to read the book during the week, and not to worry. But in this course outline, I have the essay due on that Friday, which I'm going to change. I'm going to make it the next Monday. Every week. So you read the book during the week. We're going to have robust discussions online about the book, the collection of poetry. I'm going to give you some ideas of what your essays could be on. We're going to have discussions on Blackboard. I'm going to post a question on Blackboard that you're going to react to, just so I know that you're reading the material. It lets me know that, and sort of keeps us on track, that we're all sort of engaged in the process of reading this material, and I'm giving you the lessons that you need to, and the feedback that you need to for the material that we're reading, for the texts. Okay? Let's see what we have here. Okay, so this first slide is fairly straightforward. We're all used to these course outlines. English 235 at the top, Introduction to Poetry, Spring 2020, web-based this time because of this pandemic. Myself, Jeremy Jackson, my office number, I'm not going to be there, so don't call it. I'm at home, and so you could reach out to me at jjackson@medicinecollege.ab.ca. Okay, so there aren't any sort of office hours, right? So you could reach out to me at any time, as I covered before, as we have, and I'll just read it verbatim here, office hours, as we have shifted to alternate instruction online course. Feel free to contact me via email anytime during the week in order to field any concerns or to seek any clarification for this class. I'm going to be available all the time. I'm going to get back to you right away with regard to any concerns you might have or clarification. Calendar description. This course studies selected poetry written in English. Instruction in critical writing is part of this course, okay? And what we're going to look at, all the poetry we're going to look at is contemporary, meaning it's written in, say, the last 20 years. Give or take a couple years. I think Chickamauga by Charles Wright might be pushing that 20-year limit. It's all contemporary. It's all free verse, meaning it's not structured around any sort of rhyme scheme or emphasis on syllable. It's not in that way. It's not syllabic. I'm going to try to use the language of poetry as much as I can when I talk. You might not understand it. Write it down. Look it up later. It's going to be important. Also, as you know, when you signed up for this class, in case you didn't know, I'll let you know now. The class was going from I think it was 10 o'clock in the morning to 12 p.m. So it doesn't have to adhere to those strict guidelines anymore because of the alternate delivery system being online. So as long as you're listening to the lectures every day that I post, and they're going to be about 30 minutes long. There's no way I could sit here and lecture for 2 hours necessarily. Of course, I could lecture in a class for 2 hours because we're having interaction. I'm posing questions, you're answering them. We're having a robust debate, and vigorous, sort of a dialectic, meaning we're exchanging information with each other. Right? So 2 hours goes by quite fast in a brick and mortar face-to-face classroom. But I think I can get what I need to do done in, say, 30 to 40-minute lectures. And I think that's a good thing for you in case you have other classes. We can seek some sort of equilibrium or balance here. Okay? 42-hour class at standard, credit 3 credit hours. Yeah, let's move on to the next. Well, actually, I'm going to pause here, and I'll pick it back up on the next slide so that you can either walk away or come back and listen at your own leisure, okay? Okay, here we go. The Intro to Poetry, the learning resources. These are the texts that we have to have for this class, and I'm going to try to be as flexible as possible with regard to these, but we have to look at them. And we have to get through them. They're, say, 80 pages long. I think the longest one is maybe the last one we're going to read, which is Best New Poets, 2019, which is, say, I think maybe 120 pages. But the first one we're going to look at is Matt Rasmussen's Black Aperture. Great, incredible book, of a collection of poetry. It centers itself around the idea of a true story. It's autobiographical in nature in that he's writing about his brother killing himself, shooting himself with a gun. It was a finalist for the Walt Whitman Award, which is a very prestigious award, just under the Pulitzer. So it was well received within the poetry community. So we're going to look at that. We're going to write the essay that's going to be due, as we said, not this Monday, but next Monday. And then we're going to move on to Brian Turner's Here Bullet. We're going to do Here Bullet, which is about a really great collection of poetry written about being deployed to Iraq. The individual, Brian Turner, who wrote it, the author, did deploy to Iraq, and when he came back, he wrote this book about war, and it's great. It's contemporary, hits all the buttons and blows all the whistles with regard to contemporary poetry and in its relation to war, which is sort of a tradition within poetry, writing about war. And then we're looking at Charles Wright, older guy. He's probably Matt Rasmussen is like, say, 35. Brian Turner is 45, 50 years old, and Charles Wright is probably in his 80s. But he's a California writer. There was a movement within the 80s and 90s, and I'm going to talk about this later, within poetry, where California poets were sort of trying to differentiate themselves from the New York City poets, the New York City movement of poetry. And they have the easier, breezier, engaging nature within their poetry, and I think we're going to see that within Charles Wright's collection, Chickamauga. And then we'll end up reading really contemporary stuff, Best New Poets 2019, which is always a fabulous publication. It comes out every year, as you can notice there. All right, I'm going to pause it and move on to the next slide. Let's see. Just to piggyback on the idea that I mentioned before with regard to timeline and when I will post these lectures, these 30 to 40-minute lectures, I'm going to post them in the morning. And you can, I don't know, listen to them at your leisure during that day, or wait a couple days. Up to you. You're learning. Everybody's learning style is different. Online learning is a totally different monster than brick and mortar face to face, right? So just adhere to whatever style you really think is advantageous for you. Okay, you could pile them up as long as you're doing the assignments. As long as you're, it'll behoove you, I think, to do them every day, to break them up into smaller bits, so that you can have some intelligent things to say within the discussions, all right, and within the question that I pose for you to answer, which is part of your grade. Okay, course objectives, learning outcomes. So the course objectives for Introduction to Poetry is to familiarize students with the breadth of contemporary poetry, which we are going to drill down on heavily, but I'm going to help you along the way. That's my expertise, is poetry and creative writing, so don't have any fear. We're going to be able to address all the elements of poetry, explain them thoroughly to you, parse them out of the material, out of the texts, so you have plenty of examples. To study the style, mechanics, and structure of poetry, just some of the terms we use, to practice and hone critical and interpretive thought. So the critical element of this class, and I'm sure you've taken prior English classes, of course you have in high school, and maybe you have on higher education level, post-secondary level, is that you have to be able to read against the grain of text. You need to be able to read a text, ingest it, and then pull it apart. see what makes it work or what is not working. There are going to be some things within these books of poetry that I handpicked because I enjoyed them that you're not going to like. It happens every semester. That's fine. And voice yourself. Voice your opinion on that, but also be critical of it in that you mention why. Using the elements of poetry, mention why. I don't think maybe, for example, Charles Wright was very good at incorporating simile or metaphor or imagery within his work, and this is why. Just we can't sort of parse something apart without explicating it, without explaining why. Okay. Learning objectives. The course's assignments and discussions will assist students in developing critical thinking skills. That's along the same lines of what we just mentioned. The course's written assignments will enable students to improve and hone their writing skills. Right. Not only am I going to read your essays to see if there's sharp commentary on whatever collection we've read that week, but I'm also going to analyze it with regard to, is it adhering to MLA, Modern Language Association's formatting style, which we're going to get a lecture on. And so most of us are used to APA, right? But this is totally, all of your English class you're ever going to take, the style for writing the paper is going to be Modern Language Association. It's going to be MLA. So I'm going to be looking out for that as well, and how you structured your essay, right? Does the first paragraph distill down to a strong and precise thesis statement? Does each paragraph begin with a topic sentence that reaches back to the thesis statement, right? Are there body paragraphs, right? We all do that, that's fine. Is there a definitive conclusion that restates the thesis statement? Not verbatim, but restates it. Are you using primary and secondary sources? And we're going to get into the primary and secondary sources when we get to MLA lecture. Okay, so the third one on learning objectives, the course's readings will give students practice in discerning the underlying meaning of a text and gathering evidence to support their viewpoint. This will improve your writing overall for any class you take or any walk of life that you have to write something the rest of your life. There's nothing more compressed and precise than poetry. So you're going to, in that way, although you're not writing poetry necessarily, it'll sharpen your own writing about poetry. It's the only form of writing, of any writing, that allows itself to be compressed. When I say compression, I mean it throws out the fluff and gets right to what it's essentially the root of what it's attempting to convey to the reader, right? Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. Okay, I'm going to pause and we're going to the next slide. Okay, well, within introduction to okay, so on May 15th, we're going to have something. I'm going to lecture on something. It's just not listed here. So just every day you need to be going to Blackboard, right, and looking to see. And I'll make sure I put the date within whatever file I upload, audio file I upload, and whatever PowerPoint exists. Actually, it'll just be a PowerPoint. It might be an audio file if I don't have a PowerPoint to present. But I'll put a date stamp on it so you know it's not old, it's today's, right? And I'll leave all the old ones up. I'm not going to post all of them at the same time. They're going to unfold on a daily basis, but I'm going to keep the old ones up so in case you have to go back and access old information to remind yourself what it was we lectured on. So short essay on Friday, May 15th, short essay due via Blackboard. And let's quickly discuss these short essays. Short essays can be 3 to 5 pages long, double-spaced, MLA, right, Modern Language Association, formatting style. It's going to adhere to all the MLA. So once I give you the MLA lecture on May 5th, it's open game on me gigging you on points with regard to not adhering to MLA style. And you need to have one primary source, which is whatever text we're working on, right? So in this case, for May 15th essay, the primary source will be Here Bullet. So you're going to write the essay about Here Bullet. Anything you want, approach it in any way. Email me if you have any concerns. If you need help with whittling down your thesis statement, right, which is sort of the springboard into the essay. You always want to formulate your thesis statement first, right? And that informs the rest of the essay, what the rest of the essay is going to be about. And then you're going to formulate the thesis statement. Then you want to go to the text and pick out passages, poems, lines, words that adhere to what your thesis statement is attempting to say, right? And then that would be your primary source. And you're going to have two secondary sources. So one primary, which is the text we're reading that week, and then you're going to reach out to almighty Google or some database off of the library's website, Medicine College's library databases, and you're going to find secondary sources that are academic. And there's plenty on all of these. Or it could, you know what? It doesn't. It could be academic, or it could be newspaper, or it could be professional, like peer-reviewed reviews, such as the New Yorker, which they always talk about poetry. New York Times, they always talk about poetry when a new sort of collection comes out and it makes its mark. You'll be able to find plenty of material. Reach out to me if you can. May 18th, Monday. Review of Chickamauga. Students comment on open-ended question posted to the Blackboard. So again, a discussion. You're going to react to either. You're going to have your own original thought, or you're going to react to someone else's. May 19th, Tuesday. Review of Chickamauga as comparative literature. So we're going to compare Chickamauga as contemporary poetry to other poets, maybe to the other texts that we read. I'll lecture you on it. Anytime you see the word review, it means I'm lecturing you. May 20th, Wednesday, review of Chickamauga. Students post comments in Blackboard. May 21st, Thursday, I'm lecturing you on Chickamauga. And that's all that's happening. May 22nd, Friday, short essay due via Blackboard. That's incorrect. The short essay is going to be due on that Monday, which is the 25th. May 25th, Monday, review of Best New Poets 2019 students comment on open-ended question posted by me to Blackboard. And again, that could be nothing more than a paragraph. I don't want it to be one line, right? We need to have a sharp commentary that we bring to the table that shows and exemplifies that we've read the text. May 26th, and you know what? You might reach out to me. You know what? I read the text. Of course I read it. I just can't think of anything really to talk about. Well, then look at the discussion that's taking place within Blackboard to get some ideas. Or reach out to me. May 26th, Tuesday, review of Best New Poets 2019 as comparative literature. So I'm going to lecture you on this text, and I'm going to compare it and contrast it to other works, contemporary works. May 28th, Thursday, review of Best New Poets 2019. So again, me lecturing you. Oh, sorry, I skipped one. May 27th, Wednesday, Elements of Poetry. I'm going to reintroduce you to Elements of Poetry. I'm going to remind you of one of the initial lectures we got that month, because it might have gotten lost at that point in your head. And we're going to review that through a lecture, and I'm going to post an open-ended question. Sorry, I apologize. That's not what's going to happen. This is the actual test. May 27th is you're going to have a test via Blackboard, and I'm going to post it. You're going to have the whole day to take the test, again, till midnight on Wednesday. And it's going to include elements of poetry. My apologies. And it's going to have open-ended questions. I'm going to have 3 open-ended questions about the text that we read. And it's going to ask you, what's the difference between, say, a simile and a metaphor, right? Which we would have drilled down on repeatedly in the classroom, so you should know by then. May 28th, Thursday, review of Best New Poets 2019, so me lecturing. And opening up the opportunity, I'll give a short lecture, and then that whole day you have the opportunity to email me and with regard to what you want to write or any issues you're having on your final essay. Because on that Monday, not May 29th, but the following Monday, the final essay will be due. Okay? Let's go on to the next lecture. Or next slide, sorry. Poetry. This is basically our schedule for the entire month. The weeks are kind of busy. But once we get into the groove of it and you understand the format of it, it'll be pretty straightforward. We're going to rely heavily on Blackboard, as you can see on here. There's many things that are going to be posted to Blackboard with regard to discussion, a question that I'm going to pose with regard to the texts that we're currently engaged in, and for posting your essays. I'm going back and forth on posting the essays on Blackboard, but I'll let you know if it's either going to be emailed to me or posted to Blackboard. Let's see. So detailed course content, topics, and sequencing. This is going to change. This is going to change because I accidentally, for whatever reason, it's not the right one. I'm going to fix it, and I'm going to email everybody a new copy of it so that you have a proper timeline by Monday. So don't worry about that. We'll be able to get the correct one forwarded to everyone. But just to give a general idea, let's look at these assignments and how it reflects the timeline. You have May 1st, which is this Friday, today, when you're reading this, correct? Introduction to the course, review of course outline, and expectations timeline for this class, right? Which we're talking about right now. Monday, we get the weekend off. I would recommend reading Black Aperture so you get a jump on it if you haven't read it already. A number of people have reached out to me and they've started to read the material weeks ago. That doesn't mean if you haven't read it that you should drop the class or that you're behind. You're still on a proper timeline. We haven't read anything yet officially with regard to the syllabus, the course outline, right? So I would recommend reading Black Aperture, getting a jump on it this weekend. May 4th, Monday, we review elements of poetry. Students comment on open-ended question posted to Blackboard. So I'm going to post a question to Blackboard. Everybody has the opportunity to go in there. It's going to be with regard to elements of poetry. So don't worry about it being about Black Aperture yet. Okay. And you're just going to react to the question. And it just lets me know that you read the material, keeps us both honest and on board and moving forward within the class so that everybody's on the same footing. May 5th, so Tuesday, review various genre of poetry, review MLA. So that's when we get the Modern Language Association formatting style lecture. I have a PowerPoint for that as well and audio superimposed over it. Let's see. And then we're definitely going to talk about many different types of poetry that exist. I'm going to give you a rundown on Japanese poetry, on free verse, what we just spoke about earlier, which is all the texts that we're going to read in this class. And we're going to look at verse poetry that quickly with regard to the lecture, like such as sonnets, right? English sonnets and Italian sonnets, cantos, various forms, haibun, various forms of poetry. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown so you have an understanding that they exist. I'm not going to give you, later on, whatever question I pose at Blackboard, it's not going to reflect necessarily what we talk about with regard to poetry that we're not teaching in class. So if we talk about Japanese poetry next week, we're not going to be required to answer any question within Blackboard or write an essay on those. We're only writing about the text that we cover in class, okay? And then, let's see, May 6th, Wednesday, review of Black Aperture. So by then, we would have had to have read Black Aperture, at least the beginning, right? The first, say, half, but hopefully all of it. And students are going to post comments at Blackboard discussion. What we'll do is I'm going to create a discussion within Blackboard. I'm going to mention a couple things in writing. I'll type out a few things just to get your brains sort of in the right position and geared up for the material. And then I'm going to allow you to go off and just react to the text. So so-and-so might say, well, Black Aperture seemed really dark and it was really graphic with the imagery and it really surprised me. And someone might say, react. You know how this goes, like when you troll someone. We're not going to troll each other, but how it goes, say, in YouTube, right? You look at the comments. People are reacting to each other's comments. We keep it dignified. We keep it tactful. We keep it diplomatic, right? We're reacting both to the text, but also to what other people are saying, okay? It's a conversation. Don't overthink it. May 7th, review of Black Aperture. So we're sticking with Black Aperture. We're still talking about it. I'm going to give a lecture on it, right? May 8th, review of Black Aperture. I'm still giving you a lecture on Black Aperture, right? And I'm talking about the material to you. I'm lecturing on it. You're emailing me with concerns or questions about what you want to do for your short essay. And it says here, short essay due via Blackboard, which is incorrect. I'll send you the new timeline. It's going to be on the Monday, right, that it will be due to me. Let's see, May 11th, that Monday, review of Here Bullet. Students comment on open-ended question posted to Blackboard. The open-ended question, it literally could be a paragraph, is what typically individuals do. It doesn't have to be it's not going to be a full-blown essay. I'm not expecting that. I want you to mention something from Here Bullet that caught your eye, that adheres to the elements of poetry that we're going to learn, that adheres to the things I mentioned within the lecture. I'm going to talk ad nauseum, ad infinitum about these poems. You're going to have the working language and the material within your own brain from hearing me talk about it, all right? That you're going to be able to give an intelligent, well-rounded comment on the whatever text we're reading that week. Let's see. May 12th, review of Here Bullet. So I'm lecturing on Here Bullet as comparative literature. So we're going to look at Here Bullet and compare it to other war poetry because it's in the genre of war poetry. Here Bullet is, and we're going to compare it to World War I, World War II poetry, poetry of Vietnam, and see how it compares and contrasts to that, and if it's keeping within the tradition of war poetry, what we call war literature or war poetry. May 13th, Wednesday, Review of Here Bullet again. I'll lecture on Here Bullet. Students post comments in Blackboard discussion. Again, you're reacting to each other. I'll get you started with the discussion. You go in there at your leisure, right? Let's say by the end of the day. You go in there by the end of the Wednesday, or any time that a Blackboard comment is due within the discussion. You have to midnight that night, right, to post it, and just react to somebody. Pick somebody and react to what they're saying. May 14th, Thursday, review of Here Bullet. So again, on May 14th, halfway through this semester, I'll still be talking about Here Bullet to give you plenty of information, give you some sort of tactics in approaching the essay, the short essay. Let's see. Instructional techniques. This class relies heavily on the use of Blackboard, as we covered before, for posting my audio lectures accompanied with PowerPoints, as well as our class assignments, which include Blackboard discussion. We're going to break down percentages in a moment. Blackboard open-ended questions, and Blackboard short essay, final essay submissions, and of course the test at the very end. The short essays we already covered, the 3 to 5 pages, double-spaced, with one primary source, which is the text that we read within, which we would have read in the class. Don't jump ahead and do a text we haven't read yet on the short essay. And then the final essay is going to be 3 to 5 pages, double-spaced. I expect the final essay, it's the same length, it's the same requirement with regard to the works cited page, one primary source, 2 secondary sources, but I expect it to be more sophisticated by the time we get to this time in the semester. So that's how it's going to differentiate itself, and that's why it's weighted different with regard to what grade it's going to be given, okay, than the short essay. Okay, here we go. Grade assessment. 3 short essays, 15% each. 4 open-ended comments via Blackboard, 15% each. 3 class discussion posts via Blackboard, all right, 10% each. Final essay, 20%. So you see already it's 5% more than the 3 short essays. And elements of poetry test, 10%. Okay, so this really just distills down the major dates that we already just went over in the long form, but these sort of the shorter form. So, if nothing else, print this out and have this in front of you, or jot it down. And actually, you're going to get when I email everybody, I'm going to email everybody the new sort of timeline. So you're going to be able to print this off. It doesn't need actually. You don't have to have it saved at Blackboard or sorry in PowerPoint. You just print it off or keep it saved to your desktop or just have it handy. Take a picture of it, anything. Just have it handy so you know the due dates. I'm not going to read these. We know what they are. You can refer back to the other one if you need to. Okay, although there is a test within this class, just one, 10% of your grade, not a lot. It's going to be pretty simple because you're going to have time to have the elements of poetry probably in front of you, right? So in that way, it's sort of open book. But the 3 open-ended questions, you're going to have your notes in front of you, so it's kind of open book as well, right? I'm not going to throw you any zingers. It's going to be things we covered within the class. But although we have a test that's 10%, we have no final, which is great. I'm not sort of aware or cognizant of any English class that has a final exam. At least I've never had one. I've never had one in all the master's degree programs I've been through. My bachelor's degree never had a final exam or even a midterm for an English class. Late assignments, missed exam policy. So late assignments, that's what adheres to our situation, right? You're responsible for turning your work in on time. Assignments should be submitted to Blackboard before midnight on the specified due date. We covered that already. Late assignments will be penalized 5% per day. Work will not be accepted more than 7 days after the posted deadline. Work submitted more than 7 days late will receive a grade of 0. Deadlines will not be extended without penalty unless you have a valid reason, illness, family emergency. You're freaking out. I'll accept that, as a way for you to reach out to me, for us to renegotiate some timeline within reason. It's got to be within reason, right? The parameters of reason. Not for you to say, well, it's my second essay, can I just turn it at the end of the semester? Well, no, that would be unacceptable. Just something within reason. And we can discuss that one-on-one if the situation arises. And you email me asking for an extension at least 24 hours before the assignment is due. There you go. There's the within reason, reaching out to me, saying there's a problem. I need help. I need some leniency here, and we'll discuss it. We'll negotiate on it. In some cases, such as medical illness, I may ask for documentation. If you will need to miss class for a documented illness, or a religious holiday or other religious activity and need accommodation, be in touch with me well in advance, if possible, so we can plan accordingly. Academic, at the very bottom, academic dishonesty, plagiarism, and cheating are serious offenses and may be punished by failure on exam, paper, or project, failure in class, and or expulsion from the course. Just be very careful, and we're going to talk about that with the MLA, and we're going to talk about the other academic dishonesties in 1 second when we go to the next slide. But just be careful that you over attribute, meaning you say, according to so-and-so, Brian Turner within here bullet is, quote, probing the depths of human society through the lens of war, right? That, I know that's someone else talking. I can tell by the how well formulated it is. And it's within quotes. And you told me who actually said the quote, right? You attributed, you give attribution. And we're going to speak about attribution later within the MLA PowerPoint. Okay, nothing new here. I mean, this is the regular schematic of how grading typically works at Medicine College or any university, right? And you know, it's funny. I'm from America and moved here only a couple years ago, and some of you already know that because I had you in prior classes. But it seems like an A. There's a really large range from 100 all the way down to 80, right? That's a giant range to get it to be within the realm of A. I know it's A minus, but it just, I don't think America was like, I don't know. I think it was like 89 was the cutoff for A minus, or no, for I guess it would have maybe 85. So maybe it's close. It just surprises me when I look at individuals' grades at the end of the semester. I'm like, oh, they did okay. They didn't do great, and boom, they got an A, right? So yeah, so it's here. Access it if you want. It's the typical format for any class, and we're going to adhere to it as well. Okay, as usual, there might be some accommodations that need to take place for individuals. Since this is you absorbing the material at your leisure, listening to my PowerPoints and my audio at your leisure, I don't foresee there being a problem with accommodations. I don't foresee. I mean, we do have a test, but you have the whole day. You have 24 hours to take that test, which is well more than what you get for accommodation. So just think about that. If you have accommodation, if you feel as if you have to reach out to me, do so. If you feel as if it's already been covered because you have all this time at your leisure to absorb these things, to watch these PowerPoints, listen to these PowerPoints and watch the slides and take the test, then yeah, reach out to me. Accessibility statement. If you are a student that requires additional accommodation to support your learning and have been approved through our Accessibility Service Office, room B367, just give them a call. I'm sure they're open. They have to be. In fact, I know they are. Please contact your instructor prior to exams or any other forms of evaluation if accommodation is desired. Mental health statement. Medicine College recognizes the importance of student health, mental health, and well-being, and has many resources available for supporting students throughout their academic journey. Especially important during this pandemic, right? I know a lot of people are under stress. So if you need to reach out to these individuals, please do so. And it's still open and available on campus. Services such as counseling, support groups, self-help modules dedicated to helping you manage things like anxiety, stress, depression, and relationships are accessible to students on the campus as well as online. And it's anonymous if you do it online, right? It's anonymous if you go on campus. They're not going to ask you your name if you don't want to give it. To connect with mental health and counseling, visit the student advising desk across from registration by calling, and here's the number. Information is also available online, and here's the website. In addition, the Students At-Risk Support Team, SARS, is here to respond to concerns around mental health and physical well-being. Look at this inconsistency here. They use a hyphenated well-being here, and then on the very first paragraph of mental health statement, it's not hyphenated. They smashed the two words together. Watch out for that. When you're writing your essays, just stay consistent. I don't care if it's hyphenated or if it's smashed together without a hyphen. Just be consistent. Security and academic issues, offering additional intervention and connecting students with appropriate resources on campus. And there's that website if you need to seek that out, SARS out. Okay, my responsibility is to lecture you and evaluate you, right, through your essays and that one test that we're going to have. But your responsibilities are as follows. Knowing that what we are reading and having it read before class, that's going to be important. I've been in classes before that I didn't read the material early on in my undergraduate, and I get to class and I feel embarrassed. There's embarrassment. I know we've all been there. Unless we've always read the material, we don't want to do that. You don't want to come without your A game and be able to comment on the material. So have it read before class, before you get to any assignment. Really, it doesn't matter with regard. Well, it does matter when you enter the lecture. You must have it read. Despite assignment not being due on it. Right, because you won't understand or be able to connect the dots necessarily as great as you would, right? Having it not read, so you need to have it read so you can connect the dots with regard to what I'm lecturing on. It will make more sense to you, right? Reading the assigned text in their assigned format, i.e., no Spark Notes or Wikipedia. Yeah, so you wouldn't go out there and look for a Spark Note on Here Bullet or Black Aperture, where someone condensed it down to say 2 paragraphs, like Cliff Notes, right? We don't want to do that because it's cheating you. It's taken away from the holistic effect of this class, what you're attempting to get out of it. And we're not going to use Spark Notes. I don't want to see Spark Notes or Wikipedia, please, on your works cited as references or in text citations, right? It's something that we don't use. If you want to use Wikipedia as a starting point. And whatever quote you want to use from there, go to the very bottom of the Wikipedia page, and it has references. Click on that reference. It takes you to the original source. And that's the one you want to use. Fourth bullet point here. Submitting assignments on due dates. That's going to be important. Engaging in classroom discussion via Blackboard. That's going to be important. And that you'll even being assessed on that. Being respectful of each other and the professor and acting in a mature manner. I've never had a problem with this, so that's fine. Checking Medicine Hat College email regularly. In case and I'm going to reach out to you often. I'm going to reach out to you to make sure you're still alive and still engaged in this learning process, right? We don't want to get to the end of the semester and you've turned one thing in. And I'm going to reach out to you then. I have to do it every semester and say, hey guys, excuse me, ma'am or mister, looks like you have 1 assignment that you turned in, or 2 assignments, and you're missing the final assignment, and it's been a week and a half. You haven't reached out to me. I haven't heard from you. Can you submit something so I can see where you are and we could possibly get you to pass this class? All right? It's just a waste of money if I have to fail you, right? And I don't want to do that. None of us want that. Corresponding with their professor using their Medicine Hat College email accounts, reading all assignment guidelines thoroughly to avoid making errors, organizing their time effectively so as to complete and submit assignments on time, knowing how to use Blackboard to submit assignments in advance of submission deadlines and to submit them in the correct formats. A doc format, docx, PDF. I really want to try to avoid Google Docs. It's inevitable sometimes someone has to use that, but try to use Doc and just a Word document, Microsoft Word, right? I'm not even big on PDFs, to tell you the truth, but try to use these 3 formats. If you have to do a PDF, that's fine, but try to avoid Google Doc with regard to how you format your document, what you use to format your document with. Yeah. Moving on to the other slide. Okay, so we're at the end of this journey for today, Friday, May 1st. If you have any questions at all, nothing's too strange, nothing's too out of this world, nothing's too bizarre. Please email me if you have any points on the course outline that you feel need clarified. On that note, email me anytime during the semester if you have any questions or concerns. I'd be surprised if I don't get an email from each of you every other day. That's fine. Email me every other day if you need clarification. That's what I'm here for, to guide you through this semester. It's a modified semester. It's online. It's going to be quick. It's going to be fast. It's going to be agile. It's going to be high speed, low drag. But it's also, once you get into the groove, once you finish this first week, not counting today, obviously, but once you finish this first week next week, you're going to have the formula, the schematic in place, right, that you can go forward and know what is expected of you. And again, I'm going to email everybody a new timeline, because as it stands right now, the essay is due every Friday. And I want to give you the weekend. I'm going to give you the week to read the text and listen to my lectures and answer the questions in Blackboard and be part of the commentary in Blackboard with regard to the Blackboard discussion. And then I want to give you the whole weekend to formulate your essay, your 3 to 5 page essay, and then revise it and then be able to turn it in. And I'll do close of business. We're due end of day on Monday. So that gives you 3 days. If you haven't used the week, to formulate your ideas into an essay. It at least gives you those days to do so. Okay. So please reach out to me, Jackson at medicinecollegemhc.ab.ca. I look forward to communicating, not speaking, but communicating with each of you. I look forward to a good semester. It's going to go by quickly. Everybody's going to do well if you adhere to the timelines and you read the material and you listen to my lecture. Okay, guys? Email me if you have any questions. If you have no questions, I'm going to formulate that and email. I'm going to formulate the new timeline and email it to you by the end of today. You would have gotten it already. I'm recording this on Thursday, but you would have gotten it by, say, noon on Friday, okay, within your email. And then we'll just go from there. Everybody have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye.